Nè ra, bắt à.
Wow. الفيروس أنتبه كويروكي.
Rose, where is the lecturer Banang? Let me hope it will not be happen like last time. Yesterday, we missed a lecture because we came late on the net.
Good morning, class. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Okay.
You're
We are
welcome.
fine.
I'm sorry I've come late. I'm too busy with something. I don't know what I'm going to do. I just want to first ask you, are you getting enough time to revise the notes we have? Yes. Sorry?
Good morning, sir. Me, it's the first time. I'm Javira Mbogo. It's the first
Sure.
time to attend this.
Uh,
And I don't have the
sorry.
notes.
Yeah. You don't have the
I've been-
notes?
Yes, I've been not getting the link. So it's my first time, but I'm doing bachelor's public administration. Yeah.
Okay.
But if I get
But
the notes,
Master, me too. It's my first time.
even you, Vincent, it's your first time to come.
Yes, boss. It's my first time.
Sorry. What happened?
I've been trying the links, but it were not working. So the problem was my phone. So I got a new phone. Yes, boss.
Sorry. But we have been discussing.
Boss.
We shared the notes. There is a platform we are sharing, a WhatsApp group where the notes is being shared. So I don't know who is the admin should help us to record your contacts and include you on the platform. That's when you can be able to see the notes.
Okay, boss. I'm going to contact
I don't know who is
Rose.
the admin. Rose. Is she around?
Rose, yes, Rose.
She around?
Yes, she's there.
Rose, yes, Rose.
Yes, she's there.
Rose. How are you?
Yeah.
You're the group admin for this class.
Yes, I am.
You need to type out the contacts of those people who have just come.
Yeah. Hello.
You need, yes, please.
I'm not getting what you're saying.
I was saying you need to capture the names, the contacts of these people who have just come in today.
But Vincent is already in the group.
Sure.
Vincent is already there in the group.
Then there is who? There is Bogo Narubega.
She will contact me. I'm going to send her my number. Let me post it then in the chat.
Okay.
Okay,
So that they can read the notes that we shared. I was asking if you people who have been around have gotten time to read through the notes we are sharing. Anyone who has got time to read through? There's no one.
Yes, we have been trying. This is Karugawa Manes.
Yes, Mones.
Yes.
I expected that when we share notes, we can be in a position to read in a time, because the time we have is not enough. But again, why I'm asking, I know some students, when you give them all the notes, they feel they have everything and they relax. Instead of revising, they stop coming to class, feeling that they have notes, and at the end of it all, they don't even revise the notes. So that's why it is risky to share the notes at once. So I have to keep on reminding you, please, even when you have the notes, you have to attend the class. If there is no time for class, then you can be able to read from home. But getting the notes and you get convinced that you have the material, you end up keeping the notes. You only remember when it's time for exam, which is not good. So, and another thing, to keep us participating and everyone gets involved, I want to use the course outline to share some of the chapters with you students. So when we give you some area to read, you're supposed to go read the notes clearly prepare some presentation, which you will discuss for us when we come back at the next meeting, so that really people get time to read. When we don't give you these assignments, you will not read. So I just want to hear people who are ready to receive some assignments today for discussion next Friday, before we go for today's
I'm ready.
discussion. This is who? This is Rose. Hello. Hello. Rose. Rose. Your network is not good.
Master, what I heard, I think she's ready. Rose is ready
Yes.
to get some assignment.
Rose,
Yes.
you'll go to the course outline
Mm.
on Unit 1,
Yes.
then subunit E and F. They
Subunit
talk
E and
about
F.
product. Yes, it's about productivity, efficiency, and effectiveness. Then F is about management as a science or an art.
Mm.
These are a few chapters in the introduction part of management,
Yes.
where we needed to look at the schools of management, the evolution of management.
Mm.
We have different theories of management.
Mm.
We have to define what productivity means in management,
Yes.
what efficiency means, and what effectiveness means. And you bring out the difference between the three terms, the difference between productivity and efficiency, the difference between efficiency and effectiveness.
Mm.
Then people have always asked that, is management a science or an art?
Mm.
That is a question for you to discuss and tell us why some people say that management is a science and why other people say that management is an art.
Okay.
Good. So you'll be ready.
I'm also, can I get also the assignment?
This is the senior.
Whatever.
Mutebi Ronald. I hear some people calling you senior.
Yeah, I have the junior somewhere.
Eh. I want you to go to the course outline on Unit 2, subsection H and I. You discuss for us the systems approach to management and the contingency approach. These are approaches to management.
Oh.
Yes.
Approaches to
yes, you prepare enough. Don't just bring definitions.
I understand.
You research for each and everything that is concerns systems approach and contingency approach.
Okay.
Who else is ready? Hello. Hey, other people have decided to keep quiet.
Master, I think even if it's my first time, you give me assignment, I'll try to contact Rose. I'll try my level best, even if it's my first time.
Yes. This is Vincent. Good. Thank you, Vincent.
Yes.
You will go to course unit 4,
yes.
the course outline, then chapter 4. Subsection I. It's about decision making as a function of management. But we use a case study of decision making in Japan and decision making in the United States. So we want to learn, we want to use it as a case study. We learn how is decision making in Japan different from the decision making in the United States of America. Because at the end of it all, we need to appreciate that people make decisions based on different factors, and they have policies, they have regulations they base on when they are making decisions. Even in management, when you're in management at your work, but you're working for different organizations, the decision you make for this organization depends on the policy for that organization, depends on the human resource manuals for that organization, and the environment in which that organization works in. So the basis for the decision making you make in organization X should not necessarily be the basis of the decision you make in organization Y. So different organizations have different backgrounds, have different environments, have different laws and policies. So they make different decisions basing on different areas. So we want to know, we want to take a case study comparing decision making in the Japan government and decision making in the United States of America. So when you make research, you'll be in position to get this information.
Okay, I'll make my, I'll do my best.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Javira.
Who is Javira?
To get an assignment.
This is Javira. In management, we talk about decentralization and decentralization. Okay. Javira, can you hear me? Hello, Javira.
Right. Yes.
We are on chapter 6.
Okay.
Which is organizing as a function of management.
Okay.
But under organizing, there is what we call decentralization and decentralization as approaches to management. Yes. So you will be in a position to make research and tell us what decentralization means. How is it applied in management? Its advantages and its disadvantages. You also tell us the difference between decentralization and centralization. You compare the two. What is decentralization? What is centralization? How does centralization work and how does decentralization work? Then you give us the disadvantages. Is there any person who is ready? Another person? Which other person is ready?
Yes, me.
This is Dominic.
Yes.
Dominic, are you working?
Yes.
You're working?
Yes.
With the NGO, with local government?
NGO.
Oh. You'll go to chapter 9. It's about motivation.
Yes.
It's about motivation. You prepare for us everything about motivation. What does motivation mean? You tell us the motivation process. You tell us the difference between motivation and satisfaction.
And dissatisfaction.
Yes, but most importantly, you will discuss for us the hierarchy of needs.
Mm.
And you tell us how these needs help to motivate workers.
Mm.
Anyway, just look at, I hope you have the course outline. Just look at the whole of chapters 9
Yes.
and you prepare for us.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, maybe something to let you know. When we give assignment to one person, it doesn't mean that it's only that person who is concerned about that chapter or that area. It's important for us to do the area they have given us, but again, we need to make other research about what other people have presented. That's when we can learn better. When he's presenting, we should be in a position to understand if what he's presenting is correct or not correct. And we don't do that for purposes of identifying weaknesses in someone. We just need to inform one another. We learn from one another so that we get correct information that is given to all of us. So you don't fear to present, even when it is a mistake, we are in a position to correct you and contribute in case the research you make is not enough. Okay. Let's be stopping from here for assignments. When we finish those assignments, then we can get other people to take other areas. Today, we wanted to discuss about, we had started talking about planning as a function of management. We identified what planning means. We looked at characteristics of planning. We looked at different types of plans that people get involved in. I told you to read about the disadvantages and the advantages of planning. Why is it important to plan? And why some people see it not important to do planning. Did you read about those advantages? Or we need to go back and look at them? Yes, Chirabo, I see you putting up your hand. Chirabo.
Hello.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Anything?
Actually, yes, I'm new here. I've just joined. I'm just taking notes from what everyone is sharing.
Okay.
So I really need to know how everything moves. Like, I've just joined today. Yes.
When I was beginning, I reminded you people who have just come that we already have the notes that we are supposed to share for all the chapters.
Okay.
We have the course outline that shows us the different chapters we are supposed to cover. On the notes, on the general notes I submitted or I shared with you, there were 2 areas missing about the functions of management. Decision-making as a function of management was not there, but I prepared the notes and shared it as a separate document.
Okay.
I need to prepare another document about staffing or human resource management as a function of management.
Okay.
That one is not yet shared with you, but the rest, we have it in the same document that we shared.
Okay.
We have talked about introduction to management. We know what management is. We have talked about functions of management. And we began with the planning, which we are still discussing. But there are many functions of management. We looked at planning, we looked at organizing, we looked at controlling, we looked at staffing, which is the same as human resource management, and decision making. So today, because we skipped the theories of management, That's why I was giving assignment about the theories of management, the contingence approach, and many other approaches, because we need to understand what does it mean. If we finish the functions of management when we still have time, we can go back and discuss it. But I was just skipping some areas because the time we have for online classes is limited.
Okay.
Yeah, but again, you don't need to get worried. We are hoping that when universities open, we can come and meet and have face-to-face classes. That's when we can be able to go through everything that we have been discussing online.
Yes, I would like also to ask that do we have maybe where is the work shared from? Do we have a WhatsApp group you send on emails?
Yes. We created a WhatsApp group and Loz is the admin, and I hope she's hearing.
Oh, I would love to be added.
Yes, is it? I don't know if how she will get your contact. Maybe you share it on.
Okay, let me
you
share
can
it.
read it. When she has where to write, she can write it down.
Okay. I read it or I send a message.
You send it to who?
Like there is somewhere in the comment I can put my number to be added.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Yes.
I've already posted my number in the chat. So you go there, it's already there.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'll get it.
Okay. So all the information we need to share the class will be coming through that WhatsApp group.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so I was reminding you where we stopped about the advantages and disadvantages of planning. And I remember telling you to go ahead and read it. I don't know if people did it. In case some did it and others did it, then didn't do it, then we need to do it as fast as possible. We are mentioning all these well knowing that you people somewhere, somehow you're busy. Others don't have gadgets which can help them to attend online classes. Others don't have clear network where they stay. But all in all, we have to improvise because this is the situation we are in. We may not have much to do until the lockdown on university is lifted. But we cannot sit and let months go without sharing because our course also needs to come to an end. We need to change the course and do some other businesses. So you'll bear with the situation until everything normalizes, then we come back to class as usual. So about planning, we say the planning is determining the direction or the course of action if someone has specific objectives and goals to achieve. If you have an idea, if you have an objective to achieve in life, if you have an objective for an organization that you're working for, then we must be in a position to plan on how to achieve those objectives. We said we define many areas, or we look at different areas. We define where we want to be, how we are going to reach there, and the methods we need to use to achieve the goal we want to achieve or to reach where we want to be. And then understanding how we can be sure or how we can understand that we have reached where we want to reach. So when you're planning, you have an idea or you have an objective to achieve. You should determine when you need to achieve that objective, the methods or strategies you will use to reach or to achieve that objective. And then you need to determine what will show that really you have achieved that objective. That is the whole purpose of planning. But again, we said some people don't plan and others do plan. And again, we need to understand that even in those people who plan, it's not mandatory that all their plans come true. People plan, but they end up failing to achieve what they wanted to achieve because of different reasons, which includes different environments, which includes maybe natural calamities. Like now we had planned, we have to come to class. We attend our classes for a specific period of time, which we should have used to finish our course. But because of the situation that we cannot control, this problem of COVID-19, we were forced to leave class, to take a break, which we had not planned. And then our plan is to achieve our level of education. We may not achieve it the way we had planned it. But that one should not stop us from planning. We should continue plan. And when situations change, we should also need to change. We must also need to change with the situation. And from there, we needed to identify why planning becomes difficult. So identifying the barriers to planning. Why people don't want to plan. Why even when those who have planned, they end up not achieving what they have planned. So we need to identify some different issues. For those who have the big document we shared, what we are discussing is on page 38 of the notes that we shared. Identifying barriers to planning. And we need to acknowledge that various barriers can inhibit successful planning. And then in order for plans to be effective and yield the desired results, managers must identify potential barriers. What does it mean? That when you are planning to plan, or when you're beginning to plan, you should be in a position to know that there are some of the issues that may hinder you from achieving what you have planned. So these issues should not come as a surprise. You should have anticipated them. Those which can be anticipated. Then you decide or you devise means on how you can avoid those barriers or those issues. So the common barriers that inhibit successful planning include inability to plan or inadequate planning. Some of us are not able to plan because of our character, because of our abilities, because of the environment we live in. We are not able to plan. Even when we are managers. Because this ability of planning and the skill of planning is not common, is not for everyone. That's why most people, in most cases, you find them reacting to situations. You'll find that some people, actually we have like 3 or 2 categories of people by character. People who make things happen, people who watch things as they happen, and people who just hear that things happened. The people who make things happen are the people who plan, who have the ability to plan and can actually move to achieve their plans and devise all strategies and methods of achieving what they have planned. Others will just sit and watch as people are planning, as things are happening. Then there are those, another category of people who don't even know that things are happening. They will know it later when things have already gone. I want to urge you, if you're working or planning to work in an organization, you choose among these 3 groups of people where you should be or where you should lie. Do you want to make things happen as a manager? As any person taking any other position in an organization? Remember we said, when we say as a manager, we are not talking about the top leadership of that organization. We identified the 3 levels of management. The first one being the top level management, the second one being the middle level management, and the third one being the low level management. And we said at whatever level, you have resources that you're managing. If you're a finance manager, you're managing financial resources of that organization. If you're operations manager, you're managing all the work all the activities, all the operations that are taking place in that organization. But even when you're a cleaner, there are some resources that are given to you to manage. That vim, the blooms, the water, and making sure that the entire place is clean. It is your area of management. When that area is messed up, then the entire organization will be paralyzed. Most times we tell these top managers in organizations that there is need to respect each and every person that works for that organization. Everyone is important. Everyone is a manager in his position or her position. You can come as an operations director, well-dressed, smart, in your suit, and you come driving the organizational car. But the moment you enter a toilet which is dirty, that's when you remember that the cleaner is important. That's when you remember that your smartness does not work in some areas. When you want to go to the toilet, you end up putting off your coat, leave it in the office, enter a toilet. But you remember there must be someone to make that toilet clean for you to be comfortable. So let's be in a position to make things happen. Not only watching as things are happening, and not only see or being told that really things happened. Even in our families, if your presence in a family may look like your absence, or if your presence is the same as your absence, then just understand that there is little that you're contributing. Even in organizations, let your position be felt. You should be part of the people who move things, not the type of person who just watches how things are happening, or even being told. I've seen many people in organizations, their staff members, people organize for meetings, they are not informed. They don't even inquire if there is anything going on. They come back the following week, only to be told that on Thursday there was a meeting. They start asking, where was the meeting? What was the meeting about? What was the conclusion? Ask yourself, why were you not invited? Maybe it could be it was not your department, but a meeting happening in your department and you're not invited. Just read in your heart that they could have thought that your presence does not make a difference and your absence does not make a difference. Things will continue to happen whether you're there or not. That one is the most dangerous lifestyle that one must live or one must not live. So, as we plan, let's look at how can we be in a position to make things happen? How can we get the ability to plan? So people should understand that there is need for planning. We should not react to situations. We should be proactive enough and cause things happen. That's when we can be in a position to cause change. And the change we are talking about is a positive change, which we call the positive impact for the work that we are doing. Jovan, you have any comment?
No comment,
Then
please.
Okay. So the first issue, the first barrier to effective planning is the ability or inability to plan and inadequate planning. And we need to understand that managers are not born with the ability to plan. Some managers are not successful planners because they lack that background of planning. They lack enough education skills and many other abilities. Others may have never been taught how to plan. When these two types of managers make the time to plan, or they take the time to plan, they may not know how to conduct the planning process. We are urging and encouraging people who have never been involved in the planning process to find a way of getting involved. Find a way of getting involved. You could be needing a plan, your individual plan. If you don't know how to do it, look for a friend. You ask him, how can I plan? I want to achieve this, but how can I plan? I want to know the resources that I need to achieve it. I want to know how long it can take for me to achieve it. I want to know what can be involved. You can be guided. The second barrier is lack of commitment to planning processes. People plan, or they would have decided to plan, but they are not committed. Commitment. The development of a plan is hard, and it is a hard work. It is much easier for managers to claim that he or she doesn't have the time to work through the required planning. People claim we don't have time. And others end up saying that planning is useless. It's a wastage of time. Because maybe at some point they planned and what they planned did not come true. Instead of identifying why these plans were not successful, they end up making conclusions that planning is a wastage of time. But the reality is we should actually devote enough time in the long run to make sure that planning is done. Because there is a saying that if you don't plan, or if you think you're not planning, just understand that you're planning to fail. So logically, and the reality is everyone is planning. But one person is planning to succeed, another person is planning to fail. How do you plan to fail? Just if you don't plan to succeed, the opposite is that you're planning to fail, even when you cannot realize that you're planning. So lack of commitment is one or the second barrier to effective planning. Then the other issue is inferior information. Facts that are outdated, facts that are of poor quality, facts that are insufficient in quantity can be major barriers to planning. You may be wanting to plan for the organization, but you find that the information you need to base on is not enough. The information you need to base on when you're drawing that plan is not accurate. The information that is available is outdated. So it hinders your planning processes. Meaning that for you to have a successful plan, you should have updated information. The information should be enough, and the information should be about the truth, not just basing on baseless information. That's when you can better do the planning, especially when you're working for an organization or a project. Then the other issue is focusing on the present at the expense of the future. Failure to consider the long-term effects of a plan because the emphasis on short-term problems may lead to trouble in preparing for the future. In whatever we are doing, yes, the present is there. It has happened in our lives, in our organizations, in our projects. But the reality is, it's not only the present. The past has been here. The present is here today. But when we are talking about planning, we are talking of the future. So let not the past and the present stop you from thinking about the future. This organization may have been failing to achieve its objectives. for a number of good years. It doesn't mean that you will not achieve. Make sure you make a difference to an organization that has been failing, to a project that has been failing, to an individual that has always failed to achieve his or her own objectives. He can focus on the future and he can achieve something. So when we are planning, we should not only look at the present. We should look at the future and the greater future, better than the present. So in organizations where we're working from, let's not be hindered by this, looking at the present and thinking that even the future should be like the present. The future must be better than the present. The other hindrance is too much reliance on the organization's planning department. We have different departments. When we talk about organizing as a function of management, we look at how these departments are created. But the reality is that we have different departments in organizations. You find the finance department, you find the human resource department, you find the operations department, and many other departments, depending on the size of the organization and how these departments are named in different organizations. At each level, like I said, at whatever position you're holding, planning is for you, is a collective responsibility. It's not only for the department that is concerned or charged with planning. So when you rely too much on the organization's planning department, you end up failing. You'll wait for someone to plan for you when these other people are also waiting for your plan. At the end of it all, no one does the planning. Plan as a department. If you need to submit the planning department, submit your plans so that they can be integrated in the general plan for the organization, which general plan is done by the planning department. So let's not think that so-and-so is going to do the planning. No. Plan, let the other person also plan. Then you can meet and share these plans and come out with one general plan if it's necessary. Even when you're at home, it is your responsibility to plan. Stop looking at your parents to plan for you. Elderly parents should stop looking at their children to plan for them. Plan for yourself. Don't over-rely on your husband to plan for you. Don't over-rely on your wife to plan for you. It's not your brother, it's not your sister who should plan for you. It's you, and only you, who can plan for yourself. These people will come in to contribute to the plan that you already have, but they cannot give you a plan, and you think it will work. Finance department should not rely on the human resource department to plan. Plan for your department. The human resource will plan for its department. If there is need for sharing these plans, they will call you. You will be in a position to integrate the plans. But the planning is for you and not for any other person. The other barrier is concentrating on controllable variables. Yes, Winfred. Concentrating on controllable variables. Managers can find themselves concentrating on things and events that they can control, such as new product development, but then fail to consider outside the factors that has poor economy. This is concerned with taking risks. When you're planning, you're taking a risk. You're planning to achieve something you have never achieved. But our weakness and the barrier to planning is that most managers, they only look at things they can control, things that they have never, that they have experience in, things that they have ever solved. So they only look at those areas. No, this one I've ever done it. I know it can be possible. That's why people see you doing or planning to do something and someone tells you, no, that one is not achievable. No one has ever achieved it. If you hear such a person, distance yourself from such a person. That one will become a barrier to your success. You don't only achieve what you have ever achieved. You can achieve what no one has ever achieved. We are in a class, we are learning. And we think for everyone to be successful, someone should teach him or her. But let me ask you the first question. If our journey in education is having a PhD as the last level of education or becoming a professor, who taught the first professor for the first professor to be a professor? Where did he get that knowledge from? Because I'm here teaching you, you read books, you go to another level, read books. These books we are reading, they are the books that have been written by people like you and me and many others. Did the first professor fail to become a professor because there is no professor that he was following? We are talking about management. People have written about management. How about the first person who practiced management and did not write anything? We should not think that if we have not seen anyone doing what we are planning to do, then that one should not be done. No. You can be the first person to do it. And people will refer to you. Like we are referring to Henry Fayol as the person who developed the 14 principles of management. But he was not the first person to do management. He learned from different people and he decided as his initiative to put down these principles to guide us when we are practicing management. Our problem is concentrating on controllable variables. Even what we think is not controllable can be controlled. So stop fearing to plan. Stop looking at things that many people have done. You can also be one of the people to do something new in life, and many people learn from you. That's why you enter an organization and you see something that is being done, and you wonder, who started this? How did it come to his mind? As if it's the first time to hear about it and the first organization to practice it. It means there is someone who came with an initiative and practiced it, and it worked. So people should not fear. Then the other issue is we have finished the barriers of planning. Maybe we can talk a little about organizing. But before we go to organizing, I want to hear a comment from what we have discussed. Are we following? Are we understanding? Do we have any comment, any contributions from the barriers of planning that we have discussed? We may have discussed few barriers, but when you continue to do research, you will discover that there are many others. People don't plan because of limited resources. Someone will ask you, why are you not doing business? People said, I don't have capital. It may be a limitation and a hindrance to your planning to do business. Limited resources, natural calamities, political instabilities. I know when you're writing exam, these are the things you're going to tell me. Political instabilities, government influence or government policies, which are not favoring your plans, and many other issues. So we are just giving a highlight of the barriers to planning, but there are many others that we have not talked about. Any comment or any contribution or any concern? Andrew, are you okay with our discussion? Yes, Dominic.
Yes, we can continue. Yes.
So we are understanding each and everything.
Yes.
Good. We go to another function of management called organizing. And we're saying organizing is the process of arranging resources of the organization. When you talk about resources, we are talking about both physical and non-physical resources. And then the non-physical resources include time and many other resources. But again, there is physical and human resources. And we organize them in order to achieve a stated or set goals and objectives for that organization. And in simple terms, it's a process of making the organization structure which fits the organization's objectives, resources, and the organization's environment. So when we have these resources, which must be used when we are implementing the organization activities, then we must be in a position to understand how these resources are going to be organized. Identifying where each resource is to be used, when is it supposed to be used, and by who? Who is going to use these resources? And actually, for what purpose? Why are we thinking about these resources? Why do we need to use them? When do we need to use them? And how are they going to be used? For us to be in position to carry out proper organizing of different organizations, there are some of the principles that we must look at, and we must follow, and we must practice. So there are various principles which are useful guides in organizing function of any management organization. One of the principles is the span of control. Understanding the number of subordinates who are controlled by a given supervisor. First understand, if these are resources, the people alone, they are resources because we call them human resources. They are the resources that are going to use other resources. They are going to use money. They are going to use time. They are going to use assets of the organization and many other resources. So there should be a system, an organized way of understanding who is going to supervise these resources. And this principle focuses on attention to the fact that human beings have limitations. For instance, they have limited time, they have limited energy, and they have limited attention. And therefore, they limit the number of people one person can supervise. So there must be a process of understanding who is supervising who is supervising which resources. If there is no proper supervision, these resources will be misused. When they are misused, they will not be used for purposes of achieving the organizational objectives and organizational goals. So principle number one for organizing is understanding the span of control, the reporting process, and the supervision limits. The second principle is the chain of command, which states that authority and responsibility flow in a clear and broken line from high executive to the lowest levels of management. Chain of command, understanding different levels. Where do you report to? And this is in terms of authority. I remember last time about when we were talking about the difference between authority and power. Is it in this class when we talked about it? Anyone who can
Yes, it
remind
is
us
in
the
this class.
difference? With the same class? Yes, Andrew.
I don't
Yes,
think
sir.
so.
Is this the same class where we got a definition or a difference between authority and power?
Yes, it is in this class.
Can you remind the new members who have just come in to get a difference between authority and power?
Power is ability to do something,
Mm.
and authority is the power given to you.
Is the right given to you?
Yes, yes.
Yes, not the power. So we are saying when we are talking about the unit of command, we are looking at who should report to who and which authority do you have? The command, the chain of command, the authority and responsibility of different people. We say the authority is the right to do it, authorizing you, giving you the mandate to supervise, to control these organizational resources. But again, you should give these resources to people who have the power, who have the ability to use these resources. A situation where you find that someone has a right, but he cannot use it, it becomes a disservice to other members of the organization. You're given the position of a manager, you're supposed to supervise, you have the capacity and the right, but you're not using it. Resources are being misused when you're just watching. It becomes a disservice. And therefore, we are saying with the chain of command, we should be in position to know who has authority and who has ability, which is the same as power to do these activities. The unit of command is the number of organizations, the number that of the organization that should report to more than one superior. It's more common in security circles. They group these people in different groups. As some of those groups are called detached, others are called platoons, and many other names. Just because they want to know who is commanding who is in charge of who. If anything goes wrong, who should be responsible? If things are going the right way, who should be given credit? Who should be praised? If there is an instruction to be given out, who should give out this instruction? There is a new case, a new information, I call it information, a new scenario that is circulating on social media about these challenges that are happening in Masaka. They are saying one of the police officers has given out information which is not to be given out by someone at his rank. They have called that information classified information. It can only be released by someone at a higher rank than the rank of this officer. It's the unit of command we are talking about. Do you have the right to reveal such information? Do you have a right, if someone has come, he wants permission to leave job for 3 months, are you the right person to offer that permission? So such issues, they are the things that help when we are organizing organization. And for purposes of ensuring that the resources are very well utilized. Eileen, you have a comment? Hey, you have gone back. Yes, Eileen. Ronald.
Oh yes, thank you so much for this lecture. So I just want to make a simple comment about what you've been discussing about the authority and power. So in some organizations so far, we have seen people with authority but cannot exercise them due to different factors. For example, look at a scenario where the employees in organization are selected based on maybe what can I
On
say?
their skills and qualifications.
Yeah, but we have seen many people who become employees not because they are qualified, but because they are relatives, they are friends, and so on. And in case people are given command, they can hardly exercise such command because they have a strong attachment to the owners of these organizations and so on. And however much someone has the authority in some way or the other, they may fail to exercise such authority because of such factors. Just in case when we cannot differentiate relationship, whatever the attachment we have with the bosses from the work, so such things will continue to happen, and at the end it will affect the organization as at large.
Let me tell you something about related to what you're telling. The situation should be different from what we're experiencing. It is possible to be given a job because someone in charge of giving out that job is known to you or you're known to him. But what the mistake we make is that after getting that job, we think the person who has given us a job should do the job for us. Instead of performing, yes, you've gotten a chance. Your relative has given you a job. But just remember that that relative should not do the job for you, and actually he will not do the job for you. When you reach in that organization, you must be in a position to respect the policies of that organization. Respect the chain of command, respect the unit of command, and many other reporting systems that you find in that organization. When you feel that you cannot perform because the bosses are known to you, just know that you're there temporarily. Time will come when those bosses are no longer there. And actually time may also come, you leave the organization, even when you were recruited by someone who is well known to you. We many times term these as corruptional tendencies. But the reality is that corruption is being practiced because of the environment we are living in, the poverty situations. Dominic, there is a situation which we may not avoid. Just look at the poverty trends that are hitting the world, not only Uganda. You should sit back and think, if you're working and you have like your 3 brothers behind you, today you are working, they are not working. Our parents don't have enough money. It ends up becoming your responsibility to pay school fees for these people who are behind you. After paying school fees for them, if they don't get a job, they will remain your dependents. You buy for them lunch, you give them accommodation, you give them clothes, and by the time you finish like 5 years, you will get tired. How should you handle this? You should devise means of making sure that you give them a job so that they stop becoming your dependents. And that one will force you to be corrupt somewhere, because you will devise means and ensure that this person gets a job so that he stops becoming your dependent. We misuse these chances. When we have gotten these jobs, we misuse them and think that someone who has given us a job should do the work for us. If you have such a thinking, be sure that if your father is working in this organization and given a job in this organization, the day you leave that organization, you may not get another job. That's why you find some people, some cases, you work for one organization. From that organization, let's assume that it was a contract for 3 years or 5 years. After 5 years, such a person will never get another job. He was supposed to go to that job because of corruption, yes, but he was supposed to learn skills when he reaches that job and understand how work is done. But instead of learning how work is done, he became a boss because his father is a boss. his uncle is the boss. He is known. So the reality is you'll come out of that organization when you don't know anything. And it becomes difficult for you to join another organization because they are looking for people who have worked, who have experience. Instead of attaining experience, you went to boast around. So you do not gain anything. Why? What are we concluding? That you should not feel inferior when you have authority. You should not feel inferior because of these people who have come in because they are known. Practice your work, do your job. If they challenge you, they will challenge you. But later, the truth will come out. Is that okay?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
I think it's okay.
So don't feel bad because of these people. Only that they don't understand what they are supposed to do. Someone who can help you to get a job, but you know to do the job for you. Just to respect the authorities that you find in that organization.
Excuse me, sir. So, what about the circumstances which, for example, you want the job and you have the skills, you have all the authority and so on, but the moment you are trying to apply your skills and the authority, it's all violated, and the people who violated them, they can never get any punishment or whatever. It's just get it done in the corridor. So is it okay for you to, I don't know, what advice can you give to such a person? You want the job because it is the mother, the father, but you cannot exercise your skills, the authority, and so on. What advice can you really give to that person?
One time I was working for an NGO and we went for a workshop, the skills training workshop. One of our facilitators reminded us that when you get into an organization, mark the day when you have entered that organization. The following day, you will be starting to work. When you have started to work, never think or stop thinking of how you entered that organization. Start thinking of how you're exiting that organization. It doesn't matter whether you spend 3 months or 3 years or 30 years in that organization. When you think of the truth is that you have entered. The next step for you is to exit. So don't fear to exercise your rights, because when you exercise, people will tell you to leave that organization. Whether you exercise or not, you will leave that organization. So just day one, you have entered. Day two, start planning for your exit. When you know that you can exit with some skill, some experience, and some earnings maybe, don't fear exiting. Practice what you're supposed to practice, do your work. If they say they are chasing you because you're doing good and you've been thinking about your leaving or leaving the organization, you don't regret. You leave that organization and people recommend you that even when he has left, really he was doing his work. It's just because of these situations. When people are talking good about you, other people are listening and they are potential employers. They will end up employing you in another organization. So I encourage you that in management, please don't fear to exercise your skills. Don't fear to exercise your authority. Do what you're supposed to do. Because after all, do what you're supposed to do because I'm your brother and you're fearing me. I may not be the final person to make decisions. They will come, they find that things are not done, reports are not written, things are the way they are not supposed to be, still you leave. So better do the work. They chase you when you have done the work. Because even when you don't do the work, still they will chase you because the work is not done. Is that okay, Dominic?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for the advice.
It was Ronald.
Yes, it was Ronald. Okay.
but it all works.
Any other comment? Because why do we organize? Why do we have organizing as a function of management? We were discussing the principles, but we can still go on and look at the reasons or why do we organize for us to be able to answer the comments we are discussing. We do organizing in organizations for the rational use of resources. That's why we think about authority. If this authority is not exercised, there will be no rational use of resources. At the moment you fear someone because he's misusing resources, someone who is misusing resources, you fear him because he has a relative. Still, they may not chase you because of that relative, but they will chase you for the misuse of resources. That's why I said, even when you fear that you're going to be chased and you don't exercise your work, your authority, still they will come to you and ask why. So better do what you're supposed to do, then maybe God will judge and he will stand for you. But most people don't believe that God does things for people. Then the other reason why we organize is to harmonize processes in the organization. There should be harmony. Every person should be knowing what he's supposed to do so that you don't end up colliding. You minimize conflicts in the organization. If you're in finance department, do the work of finance department. Maybe only when you are delegated to do other activities you can do, but when you're not delegated, concentrate on what has been given to you so that there can be harmony in that organization. We organize for control purposes. It becomes easy for you to control the flow of resources and utilization of resources because you know this vehicle for the organization is being driven by so and so. Yes, please. Hello. Yes,
Yeah,
listen.
I was asking which page are we on? Yes, which page are we on?
We are on 43. No, 41. But I don't know if you have the same pages like mine.
Yes, I do.
Okay. So we are looking at reasons why we do organizing. We said we do organizing for rational use of resources. We do organizing to harmonize processes in the organization. We do organizing for control purposes. And we organize to help to avoid conflicts in that organization. That's why I was saying when the organization is organized, each person is placed well in a specific department, given a specific jurisdiction or authority and power, then you find that you are doing your work within your jurisdiction or within your authority, and each other person is also doing their own work. So you minimize cases of conflicting. It builds relationships. When there is clear organization of resources, you can easily build a relationship because you're not conflict. And where there is no conflict, where there is harmony, then it becomes easier for people to have good relationships. It is done for purposes of easy flow of information. When you know the person you report to, you'll know where to put your report. So even that person you're reporting to also has another supervisor. So information will be flowing clearly and you can easily track where this information comes from, where it ends from, and the impact of the information that is going. Yes. We also need to look at the steps in the organizing process. But time is running too much. I have another work to do. Shall we be in a position to read about these steps and understand them?
We shall read, then if we don't understand them, we shall ask.
when we meet next time, we can be in a position to ask questions in case there are areas we don't understand.
Yes, sir.
Then we continue to read the structures, the different forms of organizational structures, the formal structures, the informal structures, the functional structures. And again, you need to remember that these structures we are putting in these notes, we are just using them as an example. Different organizations have different titles they give to their positions. In Rotary Club, instead of directors and managing directors, for them, they use presidents. So the director, executive director can be called the president, can be called the manager, can be called. So don't just look at the titles and you think they are the formal titles. There is no uniformity in these titles. It depends on the organization and what they agreed upon. Like when you look at different organizations, people call, when you look at the Department of Human Resource, some organizations say the head of human resource is the human resource director. But in organizations like World Vision, the head of human resource is called the people and culture director. So people and culture, human resource director, human resource manager are all the same, meaning that the roles and the responsibilities are the same, but the titles are different. So we just want to show the flow and the power within different departments or within different organizations, but don't cram the titles. Just use them for understanding. When I come back, we will talk about authority and responsibility. Okay? Which is on page 47. And that will be after discussion of people who have taken up some assignments. We will have 2 discussants on Friday. Then I add on what I come to share. Then the next Friday we'll have 2. We will keep keeping 2 each every day until we finish the course that we are supposed to finish.
Now, sir, why didn't you select those who will present on Friday?
Why I didn't select is that when I say it is you and so, other people will relax with the assignment I've given.
Okay,
They will not do the work.
So we have to come when we are all ready.
Yes, we come when we are all prepared.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Good. Have a nice day.
You too, sir.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.